Well, good evening. I am Bill Conkle. I'm a park planner with the Department of Conservation and Recreation, Division of Planning and Recreation Resources. My connection to First Landing, the first time I went there was when I was a student at Norfolk State University. And we traveled down there several times to camp out and to stay in the cabins and certainly hang out at the beach. So I have real fond memories of First Landing. So on behalf of the DCR Director, Clyde Chrisman, and the staff of the Department of Conservation and Recreation, I welcome you to the virtual public meeting to discuss the update to the First Landing State Park Master Plan. In the past, we've held these meetings in the First Landing Trail Center, which was nice, but tonight we're playing it safe and bringing the meeting to you in your home or office. We thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to assist us in our planning process. But I'd also like to thank my fellow staff, because this is really a team effort. Folks from the Division of Natural Heritage, of course, the First Landing State Park staff, the State Park Central Office staff, and of course, my fellow staff members at Planning and Recreation Resources all contribute to this process, and I thank them. Okay. So tonight, we have three presenters, myself, as well as Dr. Melissa Baker, State Park Director, who will review the history of our Virginia state parks, as well as some programs and facilities that we offer. Then Bruce Widener, the park manager at First Landing, will give an introduction and overview of the First Landing State Park. Then I will talk about the phase development plan. And what is that? That's the proposed developments at the park that we're including in the master plan. Then finally, you will have a chance to provide public comment to us via chat box. Next slide, please. So housekeeping. We do ask that you place all phones and mics on mute. And so far, you guys are doing a very good job. Appreciate that. We mentioned before, but we'll do it again. All comments and questions are accepted in the chat box. These will be recorded and responses will be made prior to May 8th, 2021, so 30 days from now. And this presentation will be available online following the meeting. Additional comments, you'll see my address, email address, as well as phone numbers to contact me. And we'll bring this back up again, so in case you don't catch it here, you can catch it at the end. So remember, add your comments into the chat box. Make sure you include your name, an organization, you belong to one, or you represent a group. State your comment and provide any facts that support your position. And tonight, public comments are only accepted from the chat box. Meeting purpose. So the purpose of the meeting is to present the park master plan and facility phasing. And this park master plan is a 30-year process. So we have 3 different phases. And we encourage you to look at what we're proposing and let us know whether you think it's a great idea or if you have other ideas. Those things will be included when we take comments from this group. Next, please. Okay. I'm very pleased to introduce the Director of Virginia State Parks, Dr. Melissa Baker. She is the 8th State Parks Director in our 85-year history. She has experience in state parks from Wisconsin, Montana, and most recently as the Director of North Dakota Parks and Recreation Department. She earned a master's degree in outdoor recreation management from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale and a doctorate in forestry, outdoor recreation management, and protected area planning from the University of Montana at Missoula. Dr. Baker.
Thank you, Bill, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking your time to be with us this evening as we talk about the master plan for First Landing State Park. Turn my camera on so maybe you can see me. So I will start by giving you an introduction to state parks and a little bit of background and history of the state park system. And I'd like to start by just talking about the mission of the Department of Conservation and Recreation and the mission of Virginia State Parks. And it's these two missions that guide the work that we do. So the DCR mission is to conserve, protect, enhance, and advocate wise use of the Commonwealth's unique natural, historical, recreational, scenic, and cultural resources. And under that umbrella lies the State Park mission, which is to conserve the natural, scenic, historic, and cultural resources of the Commonwealth and provide recreational and educational opportunities consistent with the good stewardship of these lands, waters, and facilities that leave them unimpaired for future generations. So that balance of conserving of the resources and providing recreation and education opportunities is really the nexus of what we do in state parks and what we try to accomplish with our master plans. Next slide, please. So the start of the Virginia State Park System harkens back to the Great Depression and FDR's New Deal when, as part of that, the Civilian Conservation Corps was created. So in 1936, the Virginia State Park System opened with 6 parks that were built by the Virginia Conservation Corps. And so those parks, those 6 parks were the base of the system, and First Landing State Park is one of those original 6 parks. The others are Douthit, Stanton River, Westmoreland, Fairy Stone, and Hungry Mother. And so we're here today to talk about one of the original 6 state parks in the system. And it's a real honor to be able to connect to that history as we go into this planning process. Next slide, please. So from those original 6 parks that opened in 1936, the next 4 decades, the 40s through the 80s, saw a steady procession of new parks acquired and developed through a combination of funds. And those funds were donations and federal grant money and state capital development. So as the system grew through that time, we were looking for a variety of funding sources to be able to help develop the state park system. Next slide, please. So then that takes us to the third wave, if you will, of state park development, which is the 1990s through today. And 2 key points of that time period were 2 major bond referendums, one in 1992 and one in 2002. And these 2 bond referendums funded more than $214 million worth of work, including 5 new parks and the land for 6 more, 31 natural areas, 296 building projects, campgrounds, cabins, support facilities. All of those were included in those building projects. And we still continue to acquire lands today, largely by donation or discounted sales. And the challenge is to find development funds and also the funds to take care of and manage and maintain the facilities that we have. Next slide, please. So today's Virginia State Park System includes 40 parks, and I'm including Machicomico State Park in that 40 parks number, and Machicomico State Park will actually open to the public next week. Total acreage for the system, just over 75,000. We have 34 sites on the historic register, 662 miles of trails. 32 of our parks have overnight facilities, 11 are day use parks. Then you can see we have many visitor center, picnic shelters. We have 11 swimming beaches and 4 swimming pools. And we also have 2 restaurants and 19 snack bars. So there's a little bit of everything in the Virginia State Park System. Next slide, please. And within the state park system, as you all likely know, each park has its unique set of facilities, activities, and services. And what we are going to talk about tonight is what makes up First Landing State Park. But through the system, we see a variety of things, day uses such as hiking and swimming and picnicking, boating, bicycling, horse riding, overnight cabins and camping and yurts. We have many programs and educational opportunities, interpretation, harkening back to that mission of the recreation and educational experiences. And then we also have conferences and meeting facilities. So there's a lot of things you can do in Virginia State Parks. and each park has its own character and its own set of resources that you can access. Next slide, please. So the relevancy of state parks in the 21st century and beyond, parks really are part of the community. And I feel as if you all know this, your participation in this meeting and your willingness to give of your time tonight to talk about First Landing State Park is indicative of the type of community support that we have. And state parks often will have friends groups. We depend on friends groups, we depend on volunteerism, and people really get connected to their parks and participate like that. And parks also provide great economic benefit. When a park comes into a community and visitors come to visit that park, they spend money in your stores and your restaurants. And one of the things that we like to tell our staff is that when you see folks coming to the park and they're visiting local businesses, we're really supporting local economies, and some of what people spend their money on when they come to visit a state park turns into school supplies and backpacks and braces for local families. And we're really proud to be part of the economic engine of the communities we're part of. We also provide solutions to many of today's challenges. Nature deficit disorder. Many of you have probably heard of the lack of connection to nature and access to nature, and parks provide a way to connect with nature and to help children specifically connect to nature. They help us deal with daily stresses, and the need for affordable recreation opportunities. And this past year with COVID-19, it has really been obvious the benefits that state parks and all parks provide. When many of the other recreational outlets that people had traditionally used were closed, state parks were open, and a lot of people came to visit us. And we were really pleased to be able to provide that service. And I know that it was important for people's physical and mental health during this past year. So the need for parks is greater today than it's ever been, for places to reconnect with nature, to be with family and friends, to establish personal well-being. Those are all really important things, and be able to have access to public land to do these. Our state parks belong to everyone. They belong to the people of the Commonwealth. And we're really pleased to be able to provide these benefits to the citizens of the Commonwealth as part of our state park system. Next slide, please. So to go into First Landing State Park and an overview of the park, I'd like to introduce the park manager to you. Bruce Widener has been with Virginia State Parks for almost 30 years. And in those 30 years, he served in various roles throughout the system, rising to his current role of park manager. He's worked at multiple state parks, but he's been at First Landing for 12 years as the park manager. So please welcome Bruce Widener.
Thank you, Melissa. And thank all of you for coming out tonight and spending some time with us. I see a lot of names on here that I recognize, so thank you very much for taking your time. Like Melissa said, I have been here for 12 years now, and it's been an exciting 12 years. It's always pressing here at First Landing. We are one of the most visited state parks, and we argue internally who is actually the most visited. I always say we are. The number you see on your screen with 700,000 visits per year was actually a 2019 number, and I apologize for that. The 2020 number is well over 800,000 visits here at First Landing. And within the past year, we have all had our challenges with COVID. One of the biggest challenges we've had is dealing with the influx of guests. It's amazing how people really came out and used their state parks. It's pretty amazing. So I'm going to give you a really brief overview of First Landing, and then we'll kick it back to be able to go on to the rest of it. So First Landing, sitting here in Virginia Beach, has a total acreage of 2,888 acres. Most of that is swamp that the general public really don't ever see. The park name itself was given to it in 1936 when we first opened as one of the original CCC parks. It was changed to First Landing State Park in 1997 to reflect the history of the English colonists, which landed right here off of our shores here on the Chesapeake Bay in 1607, prior to them settling eventually in Jamestown. Next slide, please. We offer, on average, for over 450 educational programs conducted for over 14,000 people. Unfortunately, for the past year, we've had no educational programs due to COVID, but I'm glad to say that we do have a new full-time staff person here now that will handle programming. So we look to exceed these numbers greatly in our near future. We have over 100 school presentations and field trips, enlightening over 3,000 students of Hampton Roads. So we're very excited about our educational opportunities for the young people as well as the adults. Next slide, please. So some of our amenities here, our facilities. We have over 19 miles of hiking trails, official hiking trails within the park. We have 1.5 miles of Chesapeake Bay Beach, which is one of the biggest draws that we have here. We have 20 overnight cabins. 6 of those are the original cabins that were built back in the 30s. The other 14 were built in the 50s. 205 campsites located on the Chesapeake Bay side of the park. And inside the campground, we have 4 new, within the past year, overnight yurts, which are very, very popular amongst our guests. And they sit right along the backside of the dunes, and they're elevated to where you can see the Chesapeake Bay from sitting on your deck. Next slide, please. All right, the visitor center and the park office, which is located on the north side of Shore Drive on the campground and the Chesapeake Bay side. We have a museum there that speaks to the English colonists who came here in 1607, and of course all of our administrative offices are located in here. On the south side of Shore Drive, what we refer to as the land side, we have the Trail Center, and inside the Trail Center we have a meeting facility, a conference room, and we have a museum talks about the natural, the nature part of being out in the park. We also have the picnic area with the shelter, which is on the land side of the park. And at the very end of 64th Street, we have our boat ramp. It's very popular in the summertime. And that area is often referred to by the locals as Seashore State Park. So we educate a lot of people that we still take Seashore, but the entire park is now First Landing. Next slide, please. All right, you're looking right there at our camp store. We had our camp store renovated a little over a year ago. It used to be operated by private concessionaires for 25 years probably. The state has taken over, now park staff operate it. And then, of course, I spoke to the conference meeting space at the Trail Center. Next slide, please. All right, current staffing here at the park. We have 10 full-time staff currently. We have a park manager, 2 assistant managers, 2 chiefs, an office manager, and 4 park rangers. Of those, 4 of those positions have law enforcement. At the peak of the summer, when we have everybody on board, we will hire somewhere around 70 wage employees to make the park operate correctly. Next slide, please. The financial aspect of the park. Our annual operating budget is about $1.1 million. That was the budget from last year. Our annual revenues, the number you see there, the 2.5, is actually from last fiscal year. This fiscal year, due to the popularity of the park and people being able to get out here and enjoy themselves during the COVID, the number for the revenues will be up substantially. We're going to be well over $3 million in revenues there. And it really want to note that the state parks rely on park generated revenues to support our operations. We do a 60-40, approximately 60-40 split, where we rely on 60% of state park revenues to operate, and 40% of that is allotted from the General Assembly. So we really, really rely on folks supporting state parks and paying the parking fees, buying merchandise. All that stuff goes back into us being able to keep our facilities going. Next slide, please. All right. That's everything I've got, and now I will turn it back over to Bill.
Hey, Bruce, thank you. Thank you, Melissa, for that great overview of state parks. If I ever get an Oscar, I know I'm going to forget to thank somebody, and I made the mistake earlier on thanking people, left off our public communications and marketing office. But Dave and Andrew and Betty and Mary, I thank you for putting some polish on this presentation, and I appreciate that. And Andrew did a great job of marketing the event, so we have a pretty big crowd, so I thank you for that. What you see right now on the slide is the Virginia Outdoors Plan, the 2018 version. Virginia Outdoors Plan is Virginia's outdoor recreation and land conservation plan, and it's updated every 5 years. This is the reason we qualify for land and water conservation funds from the federal government. We will be updating the plan in 2023, and we welcome your participation in that process. So it sort of sets the stage for outdoor recreation in Virginia for the future, so we welcome that. Next, please. State park master planning is driven by the Code of Virginia. It's required of every park. So we're required to do it for every park, or we're required to update it if there's substantial land acquisition or major improvements to the park. So we go back to the public. It's a guide for the development, utilization, and management of its natural, cultural, and historic resources. It's developed in stages, and public input, you guys are required to be a part of that process. So after a park has a master plan, it's then required to be updated every 10 years. And that's what we're doing tonight. We're updating the master plan for First Landing, which was done about 10 years ago. Next slide, please. All right. This is the master plan map for First Landing State Park. And Bruce mentioned that there's a big chunk of land in the middle that not much is developed on, a lot of swampland, but also important lands that shouldn't be developed because they have a lot of great natural resources and natural features to it. So to the left side, you'll see a highly developed area. That's where the Chesapeake Bay Center is. And to the right side, it goes up to almost to the Atlantic Ocean. If you look at the pink, that's sea level rise. And if you look at the orange, that's storm surge. So I know you guys in Tidewater know the problems that come with sea level rise and storm surge, and the parks are no different. We have to be careful about where we develop and how we develop so we can withstand storm surge and sea level rise. Next, please. So the state park master plans are done generally in 3 phases. We like to say phase 1, 10 years, phase 2, 10 years, phase 3, 10 years, but that never works out. But we try to do them in phases and prioritize what the most important ones are. So in phase 1, we have renovate 20 cabin interiors and exteriors. What does that mean? It means that we look at the cabins critically, new roofs perhaps, new siding on the outside, new porches, HVAC, electrical upgrades, interiors. We look at the surfaces, the kitchens, the furniture, the floors, the walls. So it's a total upgrade of the state park cabins. And at this point in time, I think the ones at First Landing are due for an update. Next on the list is replace Archer, Kendall, Wingfield, and Percy campground bathhouses. Construct 1 6-bedroom lodge and 4 3-bedroom cabins. These will be new cabins that are added to the offerings that First Landing has. We want to construct a pole shed in the maintenance area for resource management storage. Replace the staff residence at 2565 Sheltered Woods Lane. And also enlarge and renovate a staff residence at 2527 Sheltered Woods Lane. We need to replace a culvert with a bridge on the Cape Henry Extension Trail. We need to upgrade campground roads about 3 miles, including 2-lane traffic at the contact station entrance. Also, we plan on replacing the Susan Constant, Godspeed, and Discovery dune crossovers in the campgrounds. We're also going to demolish the amphitheater and in its place put a large screened shelter, the capacity of 120 with a fireplace. We realized that would be used a whole lot more than the current amphitheater is used. Next, please. So this is the blow up of the developed side of the park. I say developed side, it's on the Chesapeake Bay side. This is the site where the Chesapeake Bay Center is, campgrounds, cabins, picnic area, the trail center, and many trails. You notice that Shore Drive splits this area, and there's a crossover between the two sides of the park. Next slide, please. Phase 2, upgrade the 64th Street boat ramp, including a road, parking, dock, ramp, and site drainage. So an overhaul of the 64th Street boat ramp. We need to replace the comfort station in the picnic area. We need to upgrade campgrounds with sewer and campsite improvements. We need to reconfigure the existing parking at the Chesapeake Bay Center to increase capacity. We need to upgrade a parking lot near Narrows. We need to reconfigure 64th Street entrance with signage, new gate, fence removal, and road widening. And we need to construct parking spaces, 40 at the Trail Center. So you note that most of the proposed developments at First Landing are actually improving, renovating existing facilities. We don't do a whole lot of new things because the park's been around a long time. It's pretty much developed as much as it can be, with a few exceptions. Next, please. This is the blow up of the eastern area of the park, the Narrows, and it shows the 64th Street boat dock and ramp, as well as the 64th Street entrance contact station, as well as many trails that are in the park. But it also shows just how much, remember I mentioned pink is sea level rise and orange is storm surge, just how impacted this part of the park is with those changes in sea level rise and storm surge. Next, please. Phase 3, replace the 64th Street contact station, including a restroom. Upgrade Cape Henry Trail from Kendall Street to the Trail Center. That's 2 miles of additional upgraded trails. We want to expand the playground in the picnic area. We want to construct a small picnic shelter at the Trail Center. And this next one's a big one. Add a bike pedestrian path along 64th Street. That'll be 3 miles of additional trails. Next, please. Okay, at this point in time, we're going to enter into the public input session. Please make comments in the chat box, and I'll review the sort of the guidelines for that. So add your comment in the chat box, include your name, and if you represent an organization, please put that down there also. State your comment and provide any facts that support your position. And just a reminder that tonight, public comments are only accepted in the chat box. Your comments will be recorded and a response will be made to you within 30 days. If you are a member of the media and have a question, please stay after the public meeting on this virtual meeting, and our staff will assist you. Next, please. We also welcome comments up until May 8th, 2021. That's 30 days from today. And there's the information who you can send it to, me. Or if you want to send me an email, that would be fine too. You can also fax it. You'll see this again in a second. Next, please. So what are the next steps? Well, we take your comments and then we look them over, incorporate them where we can into the plan, and we update the executive summary and the map for First Landing. We then present it to the Board of Conservation and Recreation for recommended approval, and then we send it to the General Assembly for a 30-day review. After that, if there aren't any changes, we'll present the plan to our director, Clyde Chrisman, and ask for adoption. So in closing, I would like to thank you for your participation. We look forward to reviewing your comments and finalizing the First Landing State Park Master Plan. Thank you very much, and please stay safe.